everyone. So I'm going to cover a little bit about measuring outcomes and communicating impact. Some of our speakers have already covered this. So there will be some information that will be like I'll repeat, but I think it is good to kind of realize that it is important and emphasize it. Okay, so I'm going to cover for Catherine. She was supposed to be covering the public values and all of this, but she had to drop out. So I'll do my best, and if I need help, then Daniel and Lynn will help me. So just to start off, right, some of our speakers have brought up this topic about our annual training series. So it happens every fall, and as you can see, we are covering almost every topic or component in an extension program development and evaluation cycle. It starts with defining clientele, then conducting needs assessment, then methods for measuring outcomes, then a method you can use for measuring outcome ripple effect mapping, then surveys are one of the most commonly used methods, right? So we have a training on survey development, survey design, sampling methods, and then last year we added a training on navigating institutional review board, because that's a question that comes up quite a bit to us. And Jen Settle will lead a session along with me and Stephen Worker at 4 p.m. like today. And then there is a 2-hour training for that. And then we have workshops on data analysis, both quantitative and qualitative, and then writing strong impact statements. So I'll cover these steps quickly today. I'm not going to talk about data analysis. But I just wanted to give an overall picture that we are available for every component in extension program development and evaluation. So when you think about like basic steps, right, some of our speakers have already covered. So think about developing a program theory. Lynn was covering about logic model. And then define clearly your intended outcomes, right? When you are thinking about a program, there are intended outcomes that are based on your science, but there have to be methods for capturing unintended outcomes also, and those are kind of captured by methods like observation. Your surveys cannot get you unintended outcomes. Sometimes they can be negative unintended and also positive unintended, right? Once we have our outcomes set, then we need evidence, right? There should be indicators. So what questions you will ask your people, either on surveys or interviews, that is very important. Then choose your data collection methods. We encourage you to go beyond surveys for sure, at least get a behavior change, right? It can be observations or follow-up surveys. And then analyze and interpret the data you collect, and then use your measured outcomes data to communicate impact. And you can use the outcomes data for various purposes, for your own individual growth within UCNR, and also to tell our story better for various reasons. So Lynn has already covered this part in depth, so I'm not going to cover this again. But this is helpful, at least for me, to improve my evaluative thinking, right? So evaluation, if you start from the ideation stage, like your program needs assessment itself, and be thinking about the connections, like why do I think what I do will lead to something, right? So that logical connection is what we are trying to emphasize with this tool. So this is about evaluative thinking. So we all know things may not happen in a linear fashion, but still it is a good tool for program planning also. So I just want to spend a little bit of time here because I see it's a common pitfall. Again, as Aparna was covering, this is her second land grant. Like if I take from my grad school, this is my 4th land grant. So this has been a situation at all the places that I worked, Iowa State, Connecticut, Wisconsin, and here. So outcome is something that comes out of your program, right? Like you've done something, an output, and then this is something that's coming out. What is changing in the lives of people that you are serving? And then output, right, what you do, all the great work you do, the trainings, the workshops, the brochures you develop, the blogs you write, all of these are under your control, but the extent of achievement of outcome is never under our control, right? We follow science, we do our best, but we don't know how much we'll achieve. So I just wanted to show some examples so that there's not like a confusion, right? So all these are outputs, like activities you do, like workshops, field days, meetings, services, videos, all of this, like including the evaluation activity itself is an output. And then the other component in an output is the people who you reach. It's good to be thinking about that also. Like participants, your clientele, your agencies, decision makers, all of these are still outputs. So it is important to count this and also report, like describe the activity, but we are really emphasizing that you communicate outcomes and impact. So this is how UCANR, like our ebook, defines changes in learning, as Aparna and Lynn were covering knowledge, attitudes, skill, like attitudes and all of those, they fall in the affective domain. And even the intention to adopt, right? They're all still learning. And then there is this medium-term outcome, action, behavior, or practice. And we highly encourage you, we should at least get at that part. And after that, we can use this behavior change data to kind of go at a safe inference towards big picture communication, like condition change. And then changes in policy decision making is also like an outcome, and then changes in conditions. These are the long-term outcomes. If you look at the logic model, right? Lynn was saying short-term impacts, medium-term impacts, long-term impacts. So these are the condition changes or the impact part. So these are happening beyond your program participants, right? Up to the action, it is a private value, what the people who are attending your program are getting from you. But impact is beyond them, right? Like it's a big picture change happening as a result of their adopting something for a long period of time. So we'll just spend like 3 minutes, 4 minutes on a little bit of activity. Jen, can you please hand out the slides? So don't see the second page yet because it's an answer key. We'll just spend like 3 minutes on this. I have picked some examples, and then we'll get into the rest of the presentation. Okay, so as people are receiving it, I want you to focus on the program land use and agriculture. 1,400 farmers were provided agricultural land use statistics by township. 35 elected county officials received agricultural land use statistics by township. Do you think that's an output or an outcome? Any volunteers? Yeah, don't look at the second page yet, please, because that's an answer key. You can go through all the examples later, but what do you think the land use agriculture statement? Is that an output or an outcome?
The first one.
Economic
development? Yeah.
Outcome? Anyone else?
There's something about land use something, but the document that I have, the first one says nothing about land use something.
No,
about economic.
The fourth one.
The fourth one. Okay.
Land use,
thanks.
yeah.
Now we're here. All right.
Yeah.
Output.
Yeah, so I thought it is output because it's still telling you how many people received what, but there's nothing like what happened as a result of that, right? So what about the next one, the basin initiative? Do you all think it's an output or an outcome? Someone said outcome, right? Yeah, okay. I also had it as outcome because it's showing a certain percentage of respondents agreed to do something, right? And then the last one, before I move on, the tobacco control. Training and technical assistance on the logic model are being provided to the Division of Public Health and the Wisconsin Tobacco Control Board, who are adapting the model for their long-term planning and evaluation initiatives. What do you think? Is that an output or an outcome?
The training and then adapting the model.
Is it both?
Yeah, it is. That's why I picked that one. You can, based on the context, like what your intended outcome is, you could either report it as an outcome or an output. So the point I was trying to emphasize is it is kind of dependent in your context, but a clear distinction: output is what you do, and outcome is what you want to achieve as a result of doing that, right? Okay, we'll move to the next part of the presentation because we don't have much time. So this is the assumed outcomes chain, right? This is just an example. Short term is knowledge, attitude, skill. Action is behavior, policy change. And then long term is condition change. So this is an example we've pulled from our master gardener. This is a real example. Just for you to see, like before, because when we work with new people, they say that, okay, how can I take the credit for a big picture change? So we use safe inference, right? We are not saying that our programs are causing all of the change, but we are contributing towards the change, right? So the example here, we can measure, like you can ask your people after the training that, and you can know how many people are reporting, self-reporting knowledge change or self-reporting skills about composting. And then you can do a follow-up after some time, whatever it takes for the behavior to happen. Like as Lynn was saying, if it is 4H, it will take more time. But if it is ag, maybe 6 months, you can see behavior change. And then you can find data that recommended green waste reduction practices are being reduced, right, as a result of your training. So you have to be very clear about that in the question. As a result of my training, are you doing this? Because there can be so many other sources, right? And then you will take a study, research study related to biocycle study. And if you say that, okay, you are contributing to this, then there is a research showing that this much is happening. And then we can get at the condition change, ecological sustainability of ag in working landscapes. So this is just like a logic I wanted to share. And then, so the people were talking about public value framework. So there is a change happening, a refresh process. So Catherine's team, Kit Alves, Catherine, Jen Settle, Christina Becker, like all of them, they took all the data that has been reported into Project Board, our online reporting system, and they analyzed it, and they discussed with 21 discussion teams. And then Catherine, I think, shared it at the town hall. And now the survey will be sent to A&R leaders to kind of, the new public value framework will be shared, and we are getting their feedback. I think it'll happen in July, I think. So this is, the one that is showing here is the older version, and this will be refreshed by July this year. So this is the draft version, the new version. The blue ones are the new condition changes that have been added. So most of the blue are kind of split. The big picture climate change has been split into 7 more clear condition changes, because we got feedback that it's too broad, kind of. And then they're adding one on improved biodiversity, like a new condition change being added. Other than that, the blue ones, the yellow ones are all like more clarity or more scope to the existing condition changes. Like for example, we had clear feedback that add mental health also in well-being, right? And then when they were talking about workforce development, the majority feedback was it appears as if we are serving the industry. So we added for individuals, communities. And then the improved land stewardship, we changed it to stewardship because it kind of, we think that it includes indigenous ways of knowing. And then we changed the 7 public value statements to 3 more areas like people, planet, and prosperity. Because people, like our colleagues were indicating that 7 is too broad and kind of, it's not easy to understand, it's confusing, but people, planet, and prosperity, I think they think it's a better fit. So most of the new ones are being added into the planet area, and then we can see 1 in the people area. So just want to spend a little bit of time on data collection methods, right? So most often it is primary data that you will collect from your people, right? Either through surveys or interviews or whatever. But the secondary data that's already available is also very, very important, especially if it is current, coming from a reliable source like a peer-reviewed journal or county reports. And then there is existing program records, sales records. You can use all of that, especially to make safe inference. And then this would need more time investment and higher level qualitative analysis skills, but pictures, charts, maps, visuals, they all can help. So we have done like a qualitative innovative method for 4H evaluation when I was in Wisconsin. If you're interested, I can share that. It is published in Journal of Youth Development. And then you can get data from not only your direct participants, but also your community stakeholders. So ripple effects mapping method that we did with Devi, there is like indirect program participants also can provide you important evaluation data. So these are all the different methods I wanted to emphasize. Surveys, as I said, is the most commonly used one. Definitely use that if that is the best, but also definitely use qualitative methods. Observation is very important because if you reach out, follow up, people may still say that we are adopting behavior, but you don't know the fidelity, right? Like how exactly are they adopting something? And also, as Aparna was covering, people may indicate an intention, but we don't know to what extent it's translated unless you follow up and ask. And then another assumption is lack of knowledge is the main factor for something getting not adopted, but that's not true. So if you follow up and ask, people can tell you many more reasons why they are not able to adopt, right? And then that qualitative data can give you like a new programmatic area if it is under your control, right? Sometimes some of the factors they tell us why they are not able to adopt something may not be under our control. Like, for example, the dairy team, people say milk prices, but that's something we can't do anything about it. Then how are you using the outcomes data? Like you can use it for your own program improvement, to build program support, and also to get recognition, right? Your stories will go out in communications and also required for accountability to USDA and for your own merit and promotion. And as Devi was covering, publications. And when you are nominated for awards, these outcome stories are very powerful. Then this is a project board that we are using for you to submit your data. So it is for accountability, for your own accountability, and then organizational accountability. Then your own academic merit and promotion purposes. If you have good evaluation data, that is really helpful, impactful. It makes it easier for the reviewers who may not be in your program area. So it's easier for them to understand the impact. And then for your own advocacy and the institutional advocacy awards. And as one of our speakers was covering, Kit Always, my colleague, she offers a project board training. Last year it was in September. I think it will be definitely in fall, but I don't know if the date has been set for that yet. And there is a project board help page. So please visit that page, and there are a lot of resources. So how project board can help you? It helps you tell your story better. And there is an explore feature. You can grow your network, as Stephen was suggesting. You'll know who the people are that are working in your area, right? And then get recognized. And then Catherine's team, we amplify your efforts. And this is how the various ways the project board data is getting used. Federal reporting to NIFA. Our own UCNR annual report is coming up in May, so that's the cover for the new report. There is a county spotlight template into which this data goes. And we share these impact reports with colleges and schools, UC system-wide reports, and then ad hoc legislative internal, external requests. Catherine, Kit, they get requests from our leaders, and we can pull the data, like what they're asking, very quickly. So how to write a strong impact statement? Please attend the training that Christina and Catherine lead in fall. But overall, this is what we can think of, relevance, response, and results taken from Texas A&M. So you explain the situation, right, the needs assessment part, right, and then briefly describe. As I said, your outputs are also important. It's not that they're not important. You have to describe your outputs. But focus more on the benefit to participants and broader public. So both the private value and public value has to be clear. And now, this is a common thing, right? I only just started my work. But as most of our speakers were covering, it takes a long time, really, to get impact data. So don't worry. Just make sure that you identify your needs properly, prioritize the needs, then have a scientific-based teaching, like extension education research project, and then identify to what condition change you are contributing. And that's what, like a potential anticipated impact is what we are looking at, especially at the beginning. So we don't need to plan for massive longitudinal studies if we don't have resources. So this is what I wanted to cover. So if there are any questions, I can take. Yeah.
Any tips for overcoming kind of resistance to surveys or dislike of surveys?
Yeah. So this is a very common thing because especially post-COVID, like even if you do an online survey, the response rates have been awful on my surveys. So that's why I'm kind of encouraging think beyond surveys, right? Qualitative data is really important. You can definitely use survey because it has its own unique strengths. But think about mixed methods, meaning qualitative and quantitative, but definitely multiple methods also, because you can be more confident about making an evaluative judgment. If multiple sources are indicating the same thing, then you have more confidence.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Although
Sources.
area directors don't write these, but we read these and from our advisors, do you recommend us taking the training as well?
Yeah, that'll be really helpful because as I was emphasizing at the beginning, this is all to promote our evaluative thinking. So we know okay, how the program is being developed based on needs, how the needs were prioritized, and what the methods were used. I think it's important for all of us, like everyone.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just a couple of words about this transition, right? So you're going to use this public value and condition chain framework for your merit and promotion dossiers as well. And sometimes I get the question, are we jumping to the new system or are we still using the old system? So it's perfectly fine to continue using the old system, the way you have your programs aligned. So keep using that. We're going to very clearly communicate when something changes. However, if you jumped ahead and are already aligning your program to the new 7 challenges, that's okay as well. So we'll give you a lot of flexibility here in the transition period, but we'll send very clear communication when this new framework is going to start and probably will be used then for the next review period starting in October at the earliest.
I think we have 1 more minute if there is any last question for me.